Hiring is an act of leadership. It's not about luck, it's not about instinct, it's not about going with your gut. It is about making a conscious, evidence-based hiring decision. So today I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common and most damaging interview mistakes that I observe leaders making every day, so that you know how to spot them and how to avoid them. So if you want to lead structured, evidence-rich, fact-based interviews that predict on-the-job performance, this one's for you. So let's get into it. We'll start with the most costly mistake of them all, and potentially the easiest one to miss in the moment. And this is a lack of evidence. Unfortunately, this is one that I see quite often. Interviewers will step into the room simply expecting to have a conversation with the candidate. They will want to explore the stories that candidates tell. But unfortunately, we're not hiring for a narrator. We're hiring for someone that can perform on the job. And a story does not provide us with real evidence, real facts that enable us to assess whether someone can perform within the job that we have at hand, or whether they are able to deliver the outcomes that we need them to deliver, or solve the problems that we need them to solve. This is why accepting vague, story-based answers that are not backed by facts means that we are missing the opportunity to actually assess someone's ability to deliver on the job, to deliver the results that we are after within the context of our business or our organization. The fact is that without evidence, without facts, it is very difficult for us to make a confident hiring decision, a decision where we will have the certainty that someone is able to perform on the job. But even with solid evidence, if your structure is off, you're going to miss the big picture, which neatly brings us to mistake number 2, which is the misuse or the lack of any structured interview framework. Frameworks are your interviewing superpower. They give your questions bite. It's not just about accepting a story or a narrative that the candidate provides you, but about being able to dig deeper to understand what they did, how they did it, what were the results that they delivered, what they learned, how they applied what they learned in future situations, and how they would be able to apply this within the context of your organization or the context of the problem that you are trying to solve within your business. And this is why understanding what your frameworks are, understanding what is the difference between STAR and SOAR and PARLA and circles, and knowing how to use those frameworks is a superpower. It is also why executive search firms and top recruitment organizations in the world teach these frameworks to their staff and ensure that they are consistently applied throughout interviewing processes, because they are incredibly valuable at surfacing real evidence, real facts, real insights about someone's performance and their ability to apply that performance within your organization. But even the best structure fails if you fail to lead the conversation, which brings us neatly to point number 3, or mistake number 3, which is ceding control of the interview to the candidate. It is on you as the interviewer to lead the conversation. This is also why when you are leading that conversation, it needs to be done in a balanced way, a way that provides candidates with the information that they are after, as well as you with the information that you need in order to make an informed, evidence-backed hiring decision. We also need to make a distinction between being nice and being effective. The fact that you are leading an interview and being an effective interviewer does not mean that you're not being nice. In fact, if you lead the conversation in the right way, you will be helping the candidate formulate their thoughts, present their evidence, present their ability to deliver within your context. And that is the nicest thing that you can do for a candidate, because you are leading the conversation in a way that enables them to showcase how they perform, how they would be able to actually bring their skills to your organization, to your business, and bring those skills in a way that will enable you to move forward, to become a better business, a better team. But all of this depends on one thing: your ability to lead the interview. So take the opportunity that you are given, the time that you are given with the candidate, and make good use of it. Your job as the interviewer is not only to lead, but to also guide the conversation. You know what you are looking for. The candidate does not. They maybe have read the job description, but they do not have the contextual knowledge that you have. Thus, it is on you to guide the candidate, to provide you with the evidence, the information that you need in order to make a well-informed decision, not one based on assumptions or gut feel or your vibes, but one based on evidence, on facts, on someone's true ability to perform on the job. But with this also comes great power, because you see, by leading a conversation, by leading an interview, you also need to ensure that you slow down the pace of the conversation to a level where you can dig deeper and actually get the information that you need from the candidate that you are speaking with. And this brings us neatly to mistake number 4, which is not using follow-ups, or what I call secondary follow-ups. So while we do have a structure in place in our interview, and we are using STAR or PARLA or SOAR to actually keep the pace of our conversation and move the question along to surface information, we also need to use secondary follow-ups. This is what turns good interviewers into great interviewers, because secondary follow-ups reveal more. They give us those additional insights into how someone functions, how they think, how they behave, how they operate. So if you want real insights in an interview, take a pause, listen, use silence as your follow-up. Allow candidates to fill the gap. Or use mirroring. This is from the Negotiator's Handbook. Simply repeat the last 3 words that someone said and add a question mark at the end. Or simply ask them to tell you more about the situation, to give you more context. These are secondary follow-ups. They are the questions that allow you to dig even deeper, to surface the information that you need, to get those nuggets of gold that you are after in order to make the right decision for your team, for your business, and ultimately for yourself. But even the best questions fall flat if they are overloaded to begin with. And this neatly brings us to the 5th and final, most common interviewing mistake that I see. And this is question stacking. It basically means asking multiple questions in one go. Can you tell me about a project you led, the challenges you faced, and how you handled those? You see what I did there? I asked 3 questions in one. I stacked those questions. And what happens if you do that is you confuse the candidate. And then what happens is the candidates will answer the easiest part of that question for them, and you will get a shallow answer. Instead of this, what you should do is divide that question into what it really is, into 3 separate questions. Can you tell me about a project that you led? Let the candidate answer. What challenges did you face on that project? Let the candidate answer. And how did you deal with those challenges? Let the candidate answer. Once you have this, you are then able to dig deeper with your secondary follow-ups. You're able to use frameworks with intent to actually gather the evidence, the information that you need in order to make an effective, informed hiring assessment. This is what interviewing is about. It is about gathering that evidence in a structured, consistent way. It is about leading the interview conversation and guiding the candidate to provide you with the information you need in order to see if they are the right person to deliver those outcomes that you are after in order to solve the problems that need solving within your business or on your team. That is what interviewing is about. And the more deliberate you are about how you ask your questions, how you plan your interviews, how you structure the conversation, the better the signal, the better the evidence will be that you are able to gather from that conversation. As a result of this, you will be making more informed decisions and be making decisions that are more consistently predictive of performance on the job. That is why mastering the art of interviewing is so important. Because if you don't have the time to do it right, when will you have the time to do it again? If you found this valuable, check out my next video linked here, and please subscribe for more. See you in the next one.